time for Minute to Skim It. I've been posting as fast as I could. We got comic books to review today, and we're doing it in a non-traditional way because usually I have me, Miss Jen, here on the Experience reviewing comic books for Minute to Skim It, along with one of my associates here at work. But we're trading over who's going to be doing that. We're still training. So instead, I got another experienced reviewer coming on with me. Say hi to Kyle.
I'm here. I wasn't here for a second.
I call you an experienced reviewer.
I didn't hear that part. I accidentally clicked the back button and left the studio for a second and was not here and was very scared.
Oh, no. That's the worst when you're like, I'm expecting something when I come on the screen.
Well, it's like I have a new mouse and it didn't do what I thought it was going to do.
Every once in a while, the TV that I have behind me where we rebroadcast what I'm doing live occasionally, it's sometimes the mouse doesn't talk to it anymore. And so we sit there and try to all right, mouse, go a little bit farther as we're just trying to expand something. And then it goes off the screen. You're like, no, I moved it this much.
I bought it's called a Magic Pad. It's an Apple mouse. It's like a touchpad mouse for my iPod, my Apple computer, and it's lovely, but it's super sensitive and touchy. So we're gonna try and not break anything today.
Do our viewers out there have got super techie stuff that does not listen to them anyway? I barely can get tech to listen to me when I do know what I'm doing. So
my tablet right now.
Your tablet right now is being a poo?
I'm trying to share the video, and it's like, what are you trying to do? No, thank you.
I mostly did number ones today because there were a lot of number ones, but I did want to read this book because it was part of my interview here on the Experience for Talking Shop on Monday with David Pepose, who I thought he only had Black, White, and Blood, The Moon Knight, which comes out later on in the month, but also Elektra. And the whole time I'm talking to him, I'm thinking to myself, you know what? Elektra's an assassin and is pretty brutal. I wonder if she's had a bunch of run-ins with Natasha Romanoff, specifically related to the Red Room. That's what this one is about, dadgummit.
I'll be like, that's totally the book he wrote.
Yeah, he thought about that way ahead of me, which is awesome. So there are 3 stories in Elektra, Black, White, and Blood. I did not read the first one because I wanted to read the last one first because, of course, that's David Pepose's story, which is specifically Elektra showing up to the actual Red Room, which you should not do. It's like going straight into enemy territory and having it out with Natasha, which is awesome. It's kind of interesting to see who has the better of who in that situation. It may not be what you expect. And also includes the rest of the Red Room. I don't know what you call them, the gals. So I really loved that. And then there's another one that's right in front of it, which is a much more romantic, I guess, story, which is a romantic liaison between Elektra and Daredevil, in which he allows himself to be demasked, which surprised me to not, because she doesn't know, does she? Does she know?
No.
Oh, so hello. This is something that is breaking new ground in a book. I thought that identity was unknown to her. So anyway, very good. Very good.
Absolutely.
And all black, white, and red as advertised.
Mm-hmm. So you read more books than I did.
You want me to do 2 to your 1?
Yeah, do 2, and then by that point I'll have my covers loaded up to show you.
Ooh, you're gonna do fancy stuff. Okay, all right.
I'm gonna do what I have to do to be able to pull this off.
All right, so I also read Wolverine Patch. Now, I'm going to be full disclosure on this. I don't think I read any of the original Patch stuff. I'm aware of Patch as a character, and it was very dapper. But it's interesting that in this one specifically, it does have him, on a bar stool a lot. And he does wear the suit. Some. But it mostly focuses in on this character who's named Tiger, which I never have ever heard of before. So I don't know if Tiger is new to this or is this an old character from the old patch lore. But one of the tigers is spelled with a Y and one is not. So I don't know if that hits any bells for anybody for what that means. But yeah, it's and this character is really cool too. There's a piece of art in there where you get to see her from behind in her her braids, and it's such a detailed image. It's just killer. And what else can I tell you about this book without? Oh, it's written by Larry Hama, which is probably a key knowledge piece for people that they might want to know, because if you love Mr. Hama's work from G.I. Joe and many other things, then maybe you will like it here. But I don't think you need to know anything about anything else. It doesn't seem to tie to the main storyline universe. You don't have to know anything about maybe knowing something about Madripoor might be helpful to you. But other than that, it's not. You don't need to know anything else. There's no living islands in this. No Hickman universe. It's just its own cool thing. So if you've been waiting for a chance to jump in somewhere, this is a good spot.
All right. So I read, this is Clear number 4. Clear number 5 is out this week from Comixology. It's a Scott Snyder, Francis Manapul book. And the premise of it is it's this weird dystopian future where everybody has a connection to the internet hardwired into their brain.
Oh.
And not hardwired, but wired into their brain. So it's kind of like the Matrix. But what happens is that people are given clear, and it's like they take the blue pill or the red pill, right? Like they come out of the Matrix and now they know stuff. And taking clear is kind of like being in this weird underground sort of world. Like you have to not get found out, and you have to, just like the Matrix, ironically, when you get unwired from the Matrix. So it's a lot of that, but it's more like, what would you do to survive once you're unhooked from the system? There's a lot of blood, a lot of gore, a lot of, just kind of fighting for survival. Very interesting book. Again, we're 5 issues in. It started off a little weird, and now that we're up to issue 5, it's really running at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and it's a pretty good time.
Okay, so the people that are in the not Matrix trying to survive, is it a humanity versus machines, or is it just?
No, it's if whatever controls they have a word for it that I can't remember right now, but whatever controls this internet connection wants everyone to have it. And if they find out that you don't, they put it back in you, essentially. They will capture you, reprogram you, reconfigure your brain, and make you become part of this, this network again, this neural network.
It sounds like for people that enjoyed ENIAC from Bad Idea, because that's also
very similar.
About an all-knowing, all-attached AI who has its fingers in every single thing.
Right. This one, it almost feels like the government or whatever this organization is trying to control what reality is. And it's doing that through this, connection you have to this network, and then manipulating your views. And the people who have come off, who have taken the clear, are no longer subject to that and can kind of see things for what it really is. There's a significant let's overthrow the government theme.
That's a lot of books, honestly.
Yeah, it's true. I will say this about this book. I have 2 books this week that the art on them is genuinely raising the game in comics. And what Francis Manapul doing in this book is absolutely phenomenal. I'm going to caveat this book. I know we're talking about, books that are in stores, and on my show, it's in stores this week, books that are out this week. Comixology is a kind of a weird thing. This is a Comixology book. It
Mhm.
may be digital this week, and it will be in print in the near future. I don't know what that. Sometimes it's 2 weeks, sometimes it's a month, sometimes but this is destined for print soon.
Yeah, I've started to see a lot more books that have the Comixology brand name on them on the back.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting. And what is the other company that launched recently that's a digital platform? I don't know if it's actually going to have physical copies. I felt like Snyder was also part of.
Oh, it's starts with an S.
Mm-hmm. Come to us.
Hold on, I subscribed to it. Let me try and log in. I'm just gonna type a S into my web search bar and see what comes up. S.
Mm-hmm.
No, I didn't. Howard. Substack.
Say it again.
Substack.
That makes sense.
And what's funny is I subscribe to Substack not for anybody who's actually doing comics on Substack, but for long form prose and opinion pieces written by Howard Chaykin.
Oh,
They're
well,
free.
that's a reason to do it.
Right. It's him just writing his thoughts. If anybody ever was on LiveJournal in the old days,
Mm-hmm.
Especially when Neil Gaiman was on LiveJournal, it's kind of like that.
I love those kind of like thought processes. Yes, Adrian, thank you so much. Oh, Joey says it's clunky.
It is, but like I just get an email when Howard puts something out and then I open it that way.
That's all that matters. And BBB says he's going to pick up the hatch. Success. All right. My next one. I'm going to probably. Yep. I think I'm hitting all of my Marvel first. It's time for some Venom Lethal Protector. Okay. So. The brains are back in the menu. I love it. This gets a little bit back to the dark ways of the Venom character. And it is him and Flash Thompson. So that's different than what we've been seeing for a while. We've had Eddie, and now that's not happening anymore. And it's cool. They've actually got two other like minor characters in this book that I don't remember seeing before. So I'm going to tell you their names. You can tell me if they've been around before. Their names are... I hate it when they don't put their name at the very beginning of a book. You guys ever notice that? Like that's something it's like writing 101, but it's so hard to do when you're writing. It's like you know the name of a character. You've been around it. Sometimes people have been around them forever, and of course you know what that character is. But the rest of your audience doesn't know. Oh, here we go. So it's always good to say them in like when it sounds really like mechanical when you're writing it. Just have people say they've been in the room for 5 hours and they're still saying, Logan, what do you think about that? Like, we don't really use each other's names when we're in the same room with each other. We just say, hey. Okay, so it's Jagged Bow, Death Shield, and Blood Spider. So I don't know if there's characters that have existed before. I guess they could be new. And that would be super cool. But this is essentially... Let me make sure I've got the right person here. Daggum it. I'm so sorry, guys.
See, this is the problem with new first appearances and things, is that when you're reading these books, especially when you're reading them fast, so you read them faster than I even have to read them for my show. Because I read digitally these books. We read the PDFs that get sent, so I could start at midnight last night reading these books. But you start in the afternoon. You can't remember
2 hours ago,
right? Which guy did that thing that you want to comment on? And then my problem is I read a book last night at midnight, and I'm like, okay, was that this book or that other book I read? And then you get too many sci-fi books, and it's like they all mash together.
So true.
Reading for review is hard, y'all.
I'm still not going to be able to tell you 100% with certainty who is in this suit, dadgummit.
A person does a thing.
No, I mean, it looks like Thompson to me, but, it's a different artist than has been on. They, of course, got a different artist because it's a new run here.
Right.
So we're going to say that I don't know. And you're going to have to read the book to find out because it's not good.
All right,
but
guys, tomorrow when you read the book, come back and tell us if it's Flash Thompson or someone else, Eddie Brock.
But the cool thing is it has it's chock full of like minor characters like Humbug. But the cool part about this is that whoever the Lethal Protector is in this case, we'll just call him Flash for fun, that Flash also takes him with a grain of salt when he comes up against him in this book. And if you don't know what Humbug's character does, is he basically has control over insects, which, okay, who cares, right? But if you can make an insect make noises at certain frequencies, could you be dangerous to a symbiote? It turns out, perhaps.
Maybe.
I actually really like when you have characters that people are kind of like, I don't know about that third-rate character, but then they end up being remarkably matched up to be able to have the ability to really do some damage against specific characters. But they're only really good against specific characters. Like Humbug, I don't know, would probably make people that were scared of bugs run away, or if you could put bugs up someone's nose so they couldn't breathe. I mean, there's lots of ways you can use bugs, right?
Let's not talk about bugs going up your nose. That just
bugs in the ear.
You used to collect bugs.
Bugs in any human orifice, like not something that's on my list of things I want to think about or talk about ever. Although there is a book that I think we both read coming up later that certainly has that feel. Yeah, we both read it. Okay. So I could talk about this is Joy Operations number 5. It's Brian Michael Bendis. It's out from Dark Horse. This is the other book that I was going to say is really changing the art game. This is Stephen Byrne, artist. This is a futuristic story about these things called envoys that are like, if you could hire a Jedi to protect your company or to do your company's security, that's what these are. Envoys have kind of magical powers that are sort of technologically generated, but not really. They're also really killer fighters. And this is Joy. She's the envoy's envoy. So she's like the best. And an organization that is outside of the organizations that would get an envoy finds a way to kind of patch into her technology and put voices in her head to try to convince her to try to bring down this kind of oligarchical society that's run by these big corporations. And she starts realizing that the whole time these corporations have been using her own family against her to get her to do what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And she's never really seen it clearly. And this voice really helps her kind of unlock her true potential. And then in this issue is like the boss battle. So we come down to the end and this is a boss battle issue. With that dude on the cover there, whose name I can't remember, but he kind of reminds me of Yoshimitsu from Tekken. But it's a killer sword fight.
Does he work for the boss of the company, or is he the boss of the company?
No, he is another envoy that's brought in to stop her from what she's trying to do. So this is the boss battle in terms of nobody who isn't an envoy fights. Mm-hmm. Like it's a lot of here, computer program, do this kind of stuff in this book. This is part of Bendis's Jinx world that he's trying to reestablish now over at Dark Horse. And my big thing that I would tell people about this is that the first 3 issues of this book are all exposition. They all move very slowly, and they're kind of trying to explain to you what's happening. And this book doesn't read like a lot of normal books.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't read those first 3 books, you won't be able to read this book. Because the talk bubbles are up and down, and you don't kind of go like this. So all of one person's lines are here, and all of one person's lines are here, and you sometimes have to figure out when to jump across. But it became a really fun book in issues 4 and 5, and this wraps it up and is a really, really kind of enjoyable conclusion.
So Jinx World, is there other Jinx World that's coming to Dark Horse? Do you think? Is it all moving over?
I would imagine it is, but I don't know what that's going to look like, right? Because it's been Jinx World has been a couple of different places now.
Yeah,
so who owns what and where?
DC, right? DC was the one.
DC had some. Yeah, he did some Jinx World stuff at DC when he was there. He did some. Was it Atlas under Marvel or Icon?
Maybe it's Icon. I think it's Icon
under Marvel.
That's where Powers is.
Yeah, and Stumptown? Wasn't that part of that Jinx World at one point? Like he's got this whole Bendis verse thing that exists, and I think he's trying to reestablish it everywhere he goes. And what I'm waiting for, and this is what I'm waiting for, is him to do the Donny Cates thing that Donny did with Crossover. And it's all of the different things Bendis has done everywhere else comes together. And it's the attack of the Bendis verse. And, we get to see some of those old Caliber comics characters that he had created, and everything comes back and goes full circle. So
for some weird reason, I thought that in Crossover that Donnie's been using Powers characters, but I could be wrong about that.
I thought there was 2.
Yeah, I can't say there's not. I'm way behind on Crossover.
Oh my gosh, you don't know all the people that have been killed.
I don't know all the people that have been killed.
Real people.
I'm pretty sure it's the only time torture is okay.
There's another book. There's another book later where there's quite a lot of torture. So, no, I like I said, these Jinx World books. This one was a ton of exposition, but then it got really good, and I really like the ending that it comes to. So, and the art is it's built for television or movies. Because they do a really good job of flattening the background in such a way that the person in the foreground really pops off the page, so you can really tell what you're supposed to be looking at and not something behind it. If you read Bendis's time with Miles Morales, it feels kind of like the art in that felt.
Okay, that's really cool. All right. Okay, so every once in a while I find a DC book that makes me want them to do more DC books that way. Because to me, the main difference for me between DC and Marvel, and the reason why I still am primarily a Marvel reader, is that I feel like, it may not be true, it might be just me just reading into it. I feel like Marvel spends more time with the character development, making me care about them and giving them real life human drama, even though they're not human. And I always felt like DC was more like, I'm gonna give you a little bit of humanness, but mostly it's about getting to the battle. And if you love battles, they got great ones, right? But in movies, and real movies, I sleep through those. So, because a battle's a battle in my brain. I'm there for the human drama. So Rogues, which is part of the Black Label universe for DC, gives me all of the human drama I have ever wanted, and I'm so excited. So, the Rogues essentially focuses in on this group of kind of decently stringed bad guys, including who's the freezy guy? See, you can tell how much DC I read.
Captain Cold.
Captain Cold.
Because like if you say the Freezy guy in DC, it's like there's Mr. Freeze, there's Captain
I
Cold,
know.
there's several cold based.
Captain Cold.
I just expect them to at some point to create Lord Slurpee.
There you go.
You know, brand it with 7-Eleven and do something.
So this focuses in on, okay, so the book basically opens up at a bar, and there is an ape-like humanoid sitting at the bar, in which he's complaining about Detective Chimp, who he is not, and also gets misidentified as Grodd while he's sitting there. So he's neither one of them. So he's some other guy with ape arms and a human body. And it's funny because I don't think they ever mention it in that part of the book, which cracks me up because it still leaves you with that exact same feeling of like, who was that guy? Which is the point of the books. So, and then it kind of like jumps forward big time in time and basically just says, yes, the rogues haven't been together in forever. And they're all trying their hand at normal jobs. Like Captain Cold has changed his name to his normal human name and is working at a factory job. It looks like making cardboard boxes, which is hilarious because that's the most important job on the planet right now. And right. And there are other members of his rogues gallery that are now doing things like, I don't remember what the first person he approaches to join him are, but he's had this plan in the back of his head forever to do, but has figured it out, but it only has one chance of actually working out, and it takes one very specific team. And so this book is basically him trying to go back to all these bad guys who have dispersed and have normal jobs to try to convince them, some of them much more easy than others to convince, to try this ultimate heist. What the heist is, I'm going to leave for you to find out. And the reading of the book is pure joy.
I really want somebody like Lex Luthor to be like, dude, can you just go back to the box factory? Like, we really need that right now. like we'll be bad another time, but what are we going to store the money in if we steal it? If we don't make boxes?
That's right.
I got to
Anyone
call.
that doesn't know, like, due to COVID and the increased amount of buying online in general, now there is a huge cardboard shortage because there's so much cardboard being used and sourced for cardboard boxes to ship all of our stuff to us.
You may remember this. We've talked about this in the past. I used to have a cardboard box company that I worked with for my store to get boxes and things.
Mm-hmm.
They called me the other day going, hey, we noticed you haven't ordered anything in a while. Did your store close? And I go, yeah. They go, do you want a job? Because we need hands. And I'm like, no, I do not want to come and make cardboard boxes. No, I'm good.
All I can think of is how, like, 30 seconds after you started a cardboard job, how dry your hands would be and how cut up they would be from box cuts.
You wear special gloves, but yes.
That makes sense. Like, people don't know that you think that a paper cut is pain. That's not. You've not
vinyl is the
until
worst.
You've had a cardboard cut.
A vinyl cut is worse than a cardboard cut.
You think?
Oh, I've had them.
I always thought those were like precise.
Because vinyl's razor sharp, so it's like cutting your hand with a razor.
Mm-hmm.
Except that most of the time the vinyl's 200 degrees when you do it.
Oh!
Mm-hmm.
Owie.
Yep. All right, so one that you didn't read that I did, really fast. All new Firefly #2, David Boer.
Lucky.
Jordi Perez. This one gets a little religious. And it's super fun. If in the first book, if you remember, if you haven't read it, spoilers. But they land on this moon and they find these monks. And as it turns out, these monks aren't the only people on this moon. And I'm beginning to get a "that's no moon" kind of feeling from this story. But remember, Kaylee is the captain, so the Serenity is a little more. What's the looking for? A little less piratey than maybe they were under Mal. But it's a strong decision that she makes as captain, and you're getting into a backstory part of Jane that's very interesting. So
issue 1 was the Janest book that had ever Janed, so I can't imagine how much more Janey it can get.
This book is more Kaylee, but there's definitely some Janey influences. At one point, you see Jane cleaning that gun that he loves. It's named, and I can't remember the name of it. And she goes, and he goes, or Kaylee comes in and goes, "Is that so and so the gun?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's date night." And he goes, "Put her back." She goes, "Put her back together. We're going dancing." And then the next panel is just Jane staring down the barrel of that gun, like ready to go.
Isn't it Vera?
Yeah, Vera.
It's like it's some name that you just don't name guns.
Right. So, very
Jason,
good follow-up.
You're gonna have to start learning how to weave baskets to store comics. And by the way, just in case you do want to know how to make an inexpensive short box, on our TikTok, you can see me in a minute or less. I think it's about a minute. Teach you how to make a short box out of a 15 by 10 by 12, I think, box that you can buy for $2 or less at the half price box store, and spend less than a minute making a short box, and it's every bit as strong and sturdy as a regular short box you would have to pay now $11 for at any local comic shop.
The other quick trick is record crates.
Record crates also work really well.
You can go 2 rows in record crates.
It's true. Or so there's some Tupperwares like that they make that are exactly the right size. Mm-hmm. But those are also more expensive.
Yes.
Than a $2 box. I was only making them honestly because I prefer the regular standard short box. But there's a fun way to store comic books that you can store a whole bunch in, and it's really nice if you don't want to have books out, so that you can have have it look like regular furniture, is to get medical file cabinets. And you can fit, if you get the right size, you can fit 4 of these made boxes in it and have 4 short boxes worth of room in each drawer. So that's why I make them. Crazy.
All right.
Okay, I bet you don't have this book today. Frankenrocker and the Jailbait Punks.
No, but I'll have it tomorrow.
This is another. Okay, so Bad Kids Press keeps on putting out books that I'm like, I like that one too, because I was kind of worried about them at the beginning, right? Because we had other book companies that came out really strong with a bunch of titles, but then they got too many too fast, and I think they like overwhelmed people maybe a little bit. But these guys are in I think they got 3 titles or something. So Frankenrocker is essentially about the actual Frankenstein, who is secretly Frankenstein, but he's in a punk rock band. And weirdos, thank you. And so he and his band are not very successfully making money as a punk rock band. I think at the end of the night that they actually play in this book, they each get $20, which doesn't seem like a lot of money if you're trying to live. And they actually get there's the opening of the book has these kind of they're not really gray aliens. They are gray, but they're not the traditional almond eyes grays. It's just another planet that they are being attacked by a reptilian alien race, and then decide that they need to go find a champion. And so end up wherever, I guess we're going to say Earth, but probably not. They show up and are trying to find champions to bring back with them to their planet, and to fight these reptilian aliens. So I guess you guys could probably figure out who they're going to pick. I mean, it's perfect for people that like Frank Steiner, Champion of Earth.
Yeah.
Which is a ridiculous book.
Yeah, Bad Kids Press has Cheap Tricks, Stealing Oz, and Frankenrocker and the Jailbait Punks. Those are their 3 books right now.
I want to read the Cheap Trick ones because I did not get to read. That was week when we had a split shipment, and so I didn't get to read it. So, and I don't think anyone else did either because I've got it. I think we have all of them over there still. So I need to just read it for review like it's brand new this week and no one will ever know.
Right.
Because I'm sure it needs its time in the sun. Because that one looks like
I think you're minus one copy because I think I bought one from you.
Did you? Excellent.
So, all right.
I just need to take it home and read it.
Yeah, let's see. Other books that I read that you didn't. No, we read that one. I think that's all the books I read that you didn't.
Well, okay. Well, now we can start tag teaming. Let's do Godzilla versus the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. A book that seems like it's a no-brainer and should have happened a long time ago.
And it's written by Cullen Bunn, which is weird.
Why? Because Cullen usually writes horror.
Right. Normally, Cullen Bunn is writing the most messed up stuff your brain can think of. And in this case, he's writing a fairly normal Power Ranger story.
Okay, so for me, reading this, I just figured that Cullen was always a huge fan of both of these franchises.
Oh,
and
sure.
he took the parts of those franchises that he loved the most and made sure that those had all the time on the page that they could.
Oh, sure. This is one of those when you ask a creator, all right, if you could take one story or one IP and, run with it, what would you want? And he would go, Godzilla and the Power Rangers. Like, this is clearly that. Because it's classic Power Rangers, too. Like, it's not like it's some of these new kind of, oh, we've got the White Rangers and Shattered Grid happen and all this kind of stuff. This is
not the samurai guys.
This is the Power Rangers I grew up with, man.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a Rita Repulsa story in here that gives me like, all right, this is how Cullen Bunn would access this story by telling a Rita Repulsa story. But it's wild the way this book goes.
Has Rita always had the Madonna cup brassiere? Because that was throwing me off.
Okay. Kinda. I mean, depending on who's played Rita and depending on how for kids the Power Rangers, like in Power Rangers Turbo, there's not as much. In the original Power Rangers, there's a lot more.
Okay.
So, it kind of varies, I think, based on the actress's needs in that area.
Mm-hmm.
But
these are quite in your face.
Mm-hmm.
They're hilarious. They're not. I will just say they're not sexualized. They're just
no, absolutely. And I will say the fact that that's how the way they bring these two properties together,
brilliant,
right, is incredibly smart. Mm-hmm. Because it's not now saying that Godzilla exists in the Power Rangers universe, or that next week the Power Rangers are going to battle King Kong because we know those two exist together. They come together by extra normal means.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to worry about changing canon too much. So
all I know is that it somehow gets primarily the Green Ranger, which probably isn't everyone's favorite, but it's probably close. Just based on the amount of people that showed up to see Jason David Frank, I'm guessing he might be the favorite.
Yeah, he's the most popular for sure.
And then, if you're ever in the, there's no spoilers. They're all on this front cover, but you got the Dragon Zord, which I have questions about because I thought for some reason you had to have all of your Power Rangers to make a Dragon Zord, but maybe I'm a dummy.
You don't have to have them all.
Magic?
You've never had to have them all. It was just that everyone you had added another weapon.
Aha. Well, they might need more then.
Yeah, we're gonna need a bigger Megazord.
We might need a bigger Megazord.
For sure.
And the art is so killer. I mean, I love that Goldar's there. Goldar's cool.
It feels painted, right? Like the art feels like maybe it's watercolors or painted in some way.
Yeah, there's a lot more time spent on, like, the cover is representative of the interior art as well. It's not like it's kind of painted on the cover and you end up with like traditional comic art on the inside.
Yep.
There's somewhat traditional art, but it feels much more high end like the rest of this stuff.
for sure.
Did Flash do a Flashpoint on Power Rangers and Godzilla? No. Rita Repulsa decides that she wants to use some mystic weapon. I have no idea what this weapon is. It probably is something everyone recognizes. To escape the universe in which the Rangers exist and go to some other universe in which she can rule supreme. And then immediately when she gets there, Godzilla's there.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't think she's going to have less trouble. Oh, and it's not even just that. It's not even just Godzilla. Like, full in frame are other kaiju from the Godzilla universe.
Yeah, no, that's the thing too. Like, it's not just a clean shot here. It's little bit of everything. In this.
That's not Hedra in the front picture. I can't remember what that guy's name is.
No, I don't remember either.
I like the trash monster. The trash monster is my favorite one. I think that's what it is.
Oh, hi there. I'm running the live shows tonight.
Because it literally is a pile of trash.
Right. Guys, that was a vocal cameo by Jenna being very loud.
Yeah,
And if she can hear me, she's gonna kill me.
So Tuesday nights are busy.
No, she's busy helping somebody. All right, Vampire Macabre. This one is an Asylum Press Halloween special, and don't let that freak you out. I know it says Halloween special, but don't worry about it. Just think to yourself, it just has Halloweeny stuff in it. But it's 3 stories that take place in the vampire universe, all of which are really, really good. Not for kids, not that hardly any vampire tales are, but they're all, I really like them, and I think they're very cool. So.
And I would just tell anyone, if you see an Asylum Press book, the not for kids rule is probably a smart one.
Yeah. Yep. It's there on purpose.
Oh yeah.
And then I've been waiting for this daggone thing for a while. So Armor Clads does not take place during the time that is congruent with the rest of the Valiant universe. I believe this moves way forward. And these main characters are basically indentured servants, even though they're told that they're not at the beginning of the book. It's like, you're not. All you have to do is serve for another X amount of time, and then you're free to go.
Right. It goes, you're not enslaved. Just work hard, and your freedom will be granted to you. That seems fishy.
Yeah.
For sure. And Jen, you'll know this better than I will, because I am only a passing Valiant fan. I have a couple of characters I like, and then I kind of don't read the rest. This is the first truly new #1 of a brand new property that they've had in a long time.
I believe so. I can't think of anything else that hasn't been part of another part of the universe, or a character that we've seen alongside another character before.
Right. I mean, even maybe the newest one was when they rebranded Ninjak, and he was Ninja K for a minute. Like, is as close as they've come.
Yeah, I think you're right. But this one, I mean, it literally, these poor guys, you literally get introduced to them. They basically slap armor on them and say, go do the things we tell you to go do. And it gets ramped up. The kind of like what you're seeing on the front of that cover is what happens in the last couple of pages. As you see a very giant armored something. I have no idea what that thing is or what it means, but it looks very unfair.
There's a book coming out called We Ride Titans from, is it Vault?
I think you're right.
Where that one is mech suits versus kaiju. This is mech suits versus everything.
Yeah.
These are guys in either robot armor or some sort of mech suit. As you can see, they're not wholly just armored. There's a little bit of mech there. And you need them to do your job. You need them to fight bad guys. You need to basically survive. So it's mech suits versus mech suits in a world where without mech suits, you're nothing.
So if I didn't know when this was supposed to be set, I would have thought it would have been really cool if this ended up being kind of like the origin story of Shantara, which is the armor, the Exo-Man of War, whereas I don't know, they've already told the origin story of that armor.
Not that I can remember.
But It would be fun if this was kind of like, we're not going to tell you that's where we're going, but that's where we're going.
And there's no saying that they're not. But, it feels like it's after.
Mhm.
But it could just be like, Star Wars a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, but yet still somehow in the future.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Ship,
So.
yes, we're saying it's about mech suits. But mostly it's about the human drama of what it means to have to do the things as opposed to doing the things because you are a hero.
Yeah, Miss Jen goes to the movies for emotional drama. I go to movies for giant men in metal suits. So this is, for me, it's about mech suits. For Miss Jen, it's about storytelling.
Dirk is right. There's always room to celebrate Halloween. Agreed. And speaking of Halloween, there are some spooky books out this week, which I loved all of. This book, Count Crowley, Amateur Midnight Monster Hunter, is actually a second series for Count Crowley. It's written by David
Dasmalchian.
Dasmalchian. And
AKA, just so y'all know, this is Polka Dot Man.
Yep.
From the Suicide Squad. And he's been a bunch of comic book stuff as
he's
well.
One of the dudes from Ant-Man.
Yeah, he's got his cred is real.
Oh yeah.
In the comic book world.
And you guys write this down so that you can do it right after the show. But I think on YouTube you can find David doing a Count Crowley promotion as Count Crowley. And I didn't realize until the end of the promotion that it was actually him. So that's how good he is as an actor. I was like, wait a minute. and as the character he's playing in the commercial for Count Crowley, the book, he can't pronounce his own last name, which is hilarious. But anyway,
yeah, there's I'm gonna try to find the one that we had for Comics Pro, and we'll show it on Dan and I's show after this.
Oh, please, that would be awesome. All right, so it's mostly about this character who is not Count Crowley, but she ends up being pointed at hunting monsters. And I mean, I think that it would be helpful to read the first series because I feel like there were a lot of references to things that happened before. But also I could read it and enjoy this one without knowing those things. So if you can hunt down the first series, great. And if not, just enjoy this for what it is and just know it's aimed very much at that kind of like After Dark, old-timey monster hunter book.
Yeah, if you've ever seen Svengoolie,
yes,
the old Elvira mystery theater things that they did, those kind of things, it's in that vein, right? Cable access, vampires, werewolves, all kinds of beasties and ghosties, oh my. And the whole thing is told by something that manages to be creepier than the Crypt Keeper, but also not creepier than the Crypt Keeper.
Yep.
I've been excited for this book since we saw the promo at Comics Pro. And so often when I get like that for a book, it's a letdown. This was not.
Was not. And am I a dummy? I read this whole book and I don't think there's an actual Count Crowley in it.
I believe we met them, but they're not called Count Crowley in it yet. So I do believe we've met them.
Okay. Love it.
There's one you read that I didn't called Ghost Cage.
Yeah. This one is a full-on trip fest. It is just really a tale where this girl who works at a giant corporation that provides energy for everything. There's this giant tower in the middle of, I don't know, their world that provides power, but they also, the people that are in control of it, use it as a source of control. So it will accidentally break down or have service errors, and that it is what everyone uses for power. So they're kind of, everyone's at their mercy. And she gets tasked with, she's just a low-level IT person. She gets tasked with taking this creature up through the levels of the inside of it. There's a little ghost icon thing that shows up too, which is kind of like Miss Minutes. And I have no idea what is going on, but it's so beautiful that I don't care. It's like, I'm sure they're going to tell me eventually, but it's kind of like reverse Dante's Inferno. I don't know. Dragonetta, you got me. I don't know what I read, but I'll keep reading it.
No, it's I love books like that where you're like, I don't even care what that thing is. I'm just in for it now.
It's like Rain Like Hammers. What did I read the first issue? I don't know, but it was beautiful.
Right. The other one for me that was like that was Rain #1. And now that we're 3 issues in, I'm going, okay. I was not emotionally prepared for what I was diving into when I said I love this book.
Not enough like stabbing you in the heart in the first issue. They're just going to keep on going at you.
Yep.
Okay, and then I don't know if I was going to have to pick my favorite books of the week. It's going to be a tie probably between Rogues and We Have Demons, which I severely underordered.
Everyone underordered this book.
Yes. It is so thick that I did not get to read, but maybe 3/4 of it.
There are two. So I'll tell you this, and maybe Miss Jen read the whole book and doesn't know it. The last third, or I wouldn't say third, maybe a little more than a quarter, is the thing that Snyder and Capullo love to do where they pull the curtain back.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got your concept art and notes from Snyder to Capullo about what these things should look like and what he's envisioning, which makes me question Scott Snyder's own sanity. Brainy, I guarantee you everyone underordered it. This is one of those books that you could never have enough copies of. I don't care how many you ordered. But
weirdly, I actually read part of this as I think it got sent to me by someone on the creative team. And as I read the first, 10 pages, like, oh yeah, I did read the beginning of this book. Why did I still underorder this thing? I'm a dummy.
Yeah, no, it's another book with a lot of religious iconography in it, ironically. There's a strong kind of based in someone's sort of weird misgivings about faith, a angels and demons story, and tons of gore.
Yeah, I mean, I always appreciate when the creative team at the beginning of the book basically tells you that they themselves have struggles with faith, and they're going to explain that beforehand as you plow through this. Like, the main character is the daughter of a pastor, and the pastor doesn't seem to be bad, but also has missing time where he says he's off doing work for the church, but she can't figure out where he's going. And
she finds things like chains and leather and stuff in his suitcase after one of these trips, and his clothes are covered in blood. So she's like, what is my dad into? Well, it turns out demons. Spoilers. If you don't know this book is about demons by looking at the cover, don't blame us for the spoilers.
No. But I like it because it does such a beautiful job of slow rolling you into the actual premise of the book and really caring about the characters and about making it very clear that this book is going to be about a strong female protagonist who is, against her will, going to be called to service, this thing that she's uniquely able to do.
There's also an undertone, I think, of that thing that parents do where no matter what they're going through, they try and keep their kids out of it, even to the kids' own detriment.
Yep.
You know, I don't know if you've ever had parents who are not great at communicating, but sometimes they don't tell you things for your own good that if you knew, you would change the way you act. You know, it's that's this. I will say this. I have one thing.
Okay.
And it's the thing you could say about everything Scott Snyder has ever written ever. There's so much text.
But I like text. I'm not mad at
I don't dislike it, but it's one of those things is get to the demons. You know, I know where we're headed. Get me there. But I mean, in parts, it felt almost like a Neil Gaiman novel adaptation, like they do at Dark Horse.
Yeah.
Where it's just word for words, the book are above the panels or whatever. This had just tons of text. And it's not a bad thing. It's just a thing to be aware of.
Yeah.
By the way, Greg Capullo and Jonathan Glapion. Greg Capullo pencils, Jonathan Glapion inks. Holy crap.
Yeah. Glapion knows how to use his blacks.
Right. I may or may not have emailed Nick going, hey, you should buy pages from this if they're available.
Oh yeah.
Dirk, it's a comic script in parts where it's just like this is just the script printed on the side of the page.
Yep.
So not a bad thing, just a thing. And again, it's a Scott Snyder signature thing. Like I expect it now. Since Severed, I've expected it. So I don't have a problem with it. It's just something to note.
It's like trying to read a Lemire book and expecting not to be a bunch of words.
Yes. Yep. So
We've run out of time.
yeah.
And
This is Josh Stearns.
Yeah.
just make sure to hook up with your local comic shop and let them know as soon as you can about the books you want, including we have demons if you feel like they've severely underordered like we have. So it's always good to add that as soon as you can to your pull box also, because what I'm seeing a lot from people is that they buy that number one, they love the number one, but they don't tell their LCS. They just show up expecting number two to be on the rack, but we haven't had anyone add it to our polls, so we think no one liked it. Because we only go by what we see, and if there's no one subscribing, we think that was a dud, even though we liked it. So we order one for the rack, and that disappears, and then it's done. We don't want you to cry on New Comic Book Day.
I'm sneaking away.
Right there.
You can't show that right now. You can't show that today.
Is it this preview?
Nope. Yes. It cannot be shown.
Ooh, Jenna, don't break the law.
Don't break the law.
I was looking at the date. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Tomorrow, you can look at it all you want. Today, it is foreboding. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for Minute to Skim It. Thanks, Kyle, for coming to pitch hit. You always have really great insight to the books you read, and I appreciate that.
Anytime.
Stay tuned, everybody. More stuff coming up on The Experience.